Dave and Liz Singleton have lived in the north of England all their lives, but their hearts are over the sea in Skye. On this Scottish island, they found one of the most spectacular sights in Britain and commissioned a house with the best views in the country.
We've been coming to Skye for 15 years. Skye is not a place, it's an intoxication.
Inspired by a new house in Portugal overlooking the Atlantic, Dave and Liz have asked architect Mary Arnold Forster to give them a house which faces the summer sun but turns its back on the winter weather. And that is easier said than done. Every so often, you come across a building plot that takes your breath away. And this is one of them. Perched, yes perched, on the southern tip of Skye, this is a building plot which literally faces down the map of the British Isles. In the middle of the summer, it's the first to greet the dawn. And you have only to stand here for a few minutes to see how it captured the imagination of regular visitors Dave and Liz Singleton. How did you come across this absolutely breathtaking site?
Well, we've been coming to Skye for 15 years, and for the last 5 or 6 years we've been looking for a site. And our son rang us from London, actually found it on the internet. We travelled up specially to see this site and one or two others, and it took us, 30 seconds?
Less than 30
Less than 30 seconds to decide.
Instantly.
Yeah, we're just amazed that there's a site like this with outline planning permission. It was
we couldn't believe,
fantastic.
yeah.
But you didn't want to take up that planning permission, you wanted to do something more specific.
Oh yeah, of course. Unfortunately, in parts of Scotland, you find a lot of kit houses, and they just, for us, they don't fit the environment.
No, a kit house on this site would be a tragedy.
On this particular
It
site,
would be an absolute tragedy. In fact, when we first came here, it seemed a pity to build on it, and so we've been very aware of being sympathetic to the landscape.
Dave and Liz commissioned the architect Mary Arnold Forster to draw up plans for their new house. She lives and works in Skye and designs houses for clients all over the Western Isles. Her best advert is her own house, built 2 years ago in the shadow of the Coolin Hills. A clever take on the traditional Scottish barn, which opens up to the Scottish summer but can be closed down against the winter storms which batter this part of the coast. She's expert at dealing with the big skies which drew Dave and Liz here in the first place.
So I'm impressed with the design that Mary's come up with. It's modern and exciting, I feel. It's all on paper, I know, at the moment. And also the fact that all the various views have been incorporated. They're very different views as well. Very long views, with the mainland mountains, you've got the peninsula, the ocean, an egg.
Because the beauty of Skye is the light. It's just fantastic light, and not to lose it. And so glass became important. We're not afraid of modern materials, although the house is going to be enlarged. But to make the most of the light. And obviously
Also
the view here, we have 360 here, and to make the most of it,
Yeah.
Skye is not a place, it's an intoxication. And I think you're here on a December morning, and you know what we mean.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic.
It is stunning.
Yeah.
Mary's giving Dave and Liz a 3-bedroomed, single-storey house, carefully positioned on this spectacular site. It will have a long kitchen diner lounge to take advantage of the views to the south, with a terrace to make the most of the sun. There'll be a large utility room and a room for the 3 Labradors, which are such a part of their life. The bedrooms will be tucked in at the back, including a master bedroom, which will have a bathroom with a shower open to the western views, and of course to anyone who happens to be looking in. This is essentially a timber box, but one so cleverly designed by Mary that only she can explain all the tricks she used when she brought it from her drawing board to the site.
I wanted views for the main living space all the way along, I didn't want to put any of the bedrooms on the front of the house, so we tucked them all at the back. So we have a morning terrace off the kitchen. We have a day terrace off the main elevation to the front, and then we have an evening terrace looking this way. So we're absolutely about the site and about the passage of the sun and about the client. Then we've taken two very simple forms which have a proportion based on traditional architecture and forms, but it's been so abstracted, and these are the clients who could go with that. They could understand that and let us do that. So these are very small building in a way. It's tucked very low, and yet it's very powerful. When we did the setting out, the builder I pulled the building down every time with the building. So
He started and you pulled it away?
No, I made him take more earth out, so that I could settle the building properly.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it fits into the landscape.
So tucking it right in. So that you're not...
That was our main concern, wasn't it? Initially, when we realised that we'd have to build at this level.
Yeah. The intent eventually is the house disappears,
merges
and the landscape,
Yeah.
recovers.
If only all clients were as sensitive to the landscape. Work started on this building 8 weeks ago. If it looks like a shoebox built out of chipboard, that's because it is, but only for the moment. When the windows are delivered and fitted, everything will change. In the meantime, denied access to the views, Dave and Liz will have to be content with seeing the internal layout emerging. So this is an exciting time for you. I mean, you've seen the foundations, and now the space is coming into 3 dimensions.
Yes, it's absolutely, it's incredible. I wasn't expecting... last time we came, it was foundation level, and I thought as soon as we started to go 3D, everything would close in, and actually it hasn't closed in as much as I was expecting.
That's
visually.
because the entranceway is actually it's quite big.
I've
got to
big.
say, I mean, for a building of this size, you've devoted a lot of space to entranceway, kind of hallway, and then that's a utility space.
Which is a rather large utility space.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, or the main reason for that, apart from the fact that we have a lot of facilities in there, we have 3 large Labradors.
3? That's going to be quite a handful.
We're strict where the Labradors go, but they'll be sleeping in the utility.
Yeah.
As you will see when they're around,
There's quite a lot of chaos.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do like the fact that as you walk in, you've got this sort of strip of roof light,
Yes.
which takes you all the way down this service court.
Yes.
Which is going to make the central area of the house feel much, much lighter than if they weren't there, obviously.
Much lighter. And one of the things, of course, obviously we need light, but we also need ventilation in the utility because the dogs will be sleeping.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And through here is...
Through here we've got this is the main bedroom, which again we will have great views here.
So that's a solid plate glass window.
Yes.
Great big window.
Yes.
And another little one there.
That's correct. And then we're going to have a walking out area here as well.
It's a little terrace.
A little terrace area.
So that's going to be incredible. And it's quite exciting because you can't see it. They've boarded it up at the moment.
Hopefully. So that should be good. And then through here we've got the shower room. Again, we're going to have glass, so we will be able to have a shower and look at the views at the same time.
And this is going to be a bathroom.
Yes.
To end all bathrooms, surely.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Dave and Liz have taken on a building firm based in the Isle of Lewis. They've even rented a house nearby to put up the workmen when they're on site. The team works 10 days on and 7 days off. When the builders are on their rest days, there's an opportunity to savour the site in all its stillness. The very quality that first attracted the Singletons to the Isle of Skye 15 years ago. It's the middle of December. It's -3 degrees. But it's a beautiful day. Building a house in the Highlands is a real challenge. At this time of the year, it doesn't get light until around 9, and it gets dark by 3. The ground is frozen solid. That's if you can find it under the snow. You get a lot of weather here, which means you can't guarantee you'll be able to stick to a building schedule. So completion dates go back and costs go up. Coming up, from one part of the Atlantic to another, I'm taking Dave and Liz to Portugal to see a home by one of the world's leading architects, owned by a man who lives and breathes design. On the southern tip of the Isle of Skye, Dave and Liz Singleton are building a house with views which most of us can only dream of. They found the site on the internet and they knew they had to have it.
We travelled up specially to see this site. It took us, 30 seconds?
Less than 30.
Less than 30 seconds to decide.
Instantly.
Having decided to buy, Dave and Liz took on architect Mary Arnold Forster, who's designed them a house which takes advantage of those views. The new year sees the Scottish weather being unkind to the builders, but they're used to it. The important thing is to make this building wind and watertight as quickly as possible. That will allow the soft trades to get on with the interior. They promised a completion date of June, but in Scotland, everything depends on nature. Dave and Liz cannot be on site every day. The best they can manage is monthly visits. Although they keep in touch with progress through emailed photographs, but it's a poor substitute for being there. So they've come to rely on Mary, not only to keep them up to date, but also to keep the pressure on the builders. Mary loves wood. 2 years ago, she completed her own home on Skye, and her design philosophy is all about the traditional forms of Scottish barns, adapted to provide 21st century living. Mary's a disciple of Brian Mackay Lyons, the renowned Canadian architect whose modern designs can be seen throughout Nova Scotia. Though Mary has taken great care to settle Dave and Liz's house into the hillside on Skye, I can't help thinking that, in the absence of planners breathing down her neck, she'd follow the Mackay Lyons example of building on the very top of the hill.
Wright said you never take the top of the hill to build on it. You always have to leave a clearing at the top. I think you destroy a hill when you build halfway up the hill. You destroy the face of the hill. Now, when we came, you could see the house appeared to be sinking into the ground behind the hill. That's what happens when they're right on top of the hill. They look like they're behind the hill. So I would say, in order to preserve the hill, you must build on top of it.
But Brian doesn't have to deal with Britain's planning laws. Dave and Liz chose Mary because they recognised her ability to combine the best of the old and the new, and to respect the landscape, which they've come to know and love.
What people like about traditional architecture is the way it settles into the landscape, and it settles comfortably as if it's always been there. And if you're trying to do that with modern architecture, you have to pull it down, and the builders will tend to raise it for me.
So pull it down so that the building doesn't impact onto the landscape.
Yeah.
But if you were to stand away from the building,
Yeah.
you can see all the ridge lines of the hills above it. Are you trying to keep the building beneath those ridge lines?
And I'm not arguing with the planners on that. We let the landscape hold the buildings properly. In the way that a traditional cottage sits well in the landscape, I want to replicate that, even though I'm doing clearly pretty modern architecture.
Was that an intention of the kind of vernacular local architecture to hide it? Or was that a practical issue of trying to keep it sheltered?
Yeah, it's sheltered from the wind. I mean, that's a basic problem here, is that we have some serious winds.
While Mary may be turning to the new world for her inspiration, Dave and Liz are looking to the old world. They're mad about the Porto School in northern Portugal, which has produced a long list of internationally renowned designers. Portugal has a rich architectural heritage from the 18th and 19th centuries, but it's also produced some world-class modern architects. Like Alvaro Siza, whose work has made him something of a national hero in Portugal. Luckily, one of Siza's recent houses, overlooking the ocean at Sintra, northwest of Lisbon, belongs to Dave and Liz's friend Carlos Salamone. The word on the street is that Siza chooses you and not the other way around. So the house is all the more highly prized by its owner. Dave and Liz have been here before, but I brought them back to see what tips they might get for their own project. And Mary Arnold Forster has come too, to delight in the work of a master architect.
Álvaro Siza is a very easygoing person. It's an outstanding person.
Mm.
So, in a way, you are in front of a very well-awarded architect, but he's a very easygoing person. And we came to a discussion. I tell him it's a nice plot, but before he committed to say yes, he wanted to see the plot. Came down to Lisbon. We came here to this place. This was all trees. You couldn't see anything.
Totally overgrown.
So we had an elevator platform, which gave him a chance to see the plot, and he found it absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So he said, I make you the project.
This is architecture at another level, with all the smoothness and sophistication that you might expect from someone at the top of his profession. Of course, it's much bigger than Dave and Liz's house on Skye, but there's a lot to see here that's directly relevant to their project. I think this is a really interesting house to bring you to, because I know that you're both fascinated by detailing and precision.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this place?
Yeah, the attention to details are phenomenal here.
Yeah,
The clean-cut lines and the way they light and the cast
I think
shadows.
it constantly offers you surprises, though, in terms of they may be straight lines, but there's so many different angles. You know, you look at this doorway, and then you just look down the corridor here. There's 1, 2, 3, and
This doorway is lovely. I mean, look, the way that it hinges
on this-
off-centre, hidden
Yeah.
there. I mean, it's just a wonderful surprise.
And it just gives you surprises wherever you go, and reveals, because the way the light comes through in this area. Obviously, when you've got over 4 meters of space, you know, in
That
terms of
helps.
height, it helps.
Okay, but I've got a question for you.